Hey everyone, I'm JC and welcome to Social Breakdown. Today I want to talk about screen time. In particular, the general belief that reducing your screen time is a solution to fixing social media. The belief is that by reducing our screen time, we'll be less distracted and more productive, that we'll be less stressed, anxious, and agitated by the content that we're consuming, and that we'll have more time to focus on our real relationships in our life. All of which are very true, and it would be amazing if we could reduce our screen time and spend less time on our devices and our apps. But the big problem is that it's virtually impossible to do so. And I want everyone to know that it's 100% not your fault. I mean, social media apps have been intentionally designed to create addiction. I think everyone knows that there's a real problem with social media and that it's not healthy for us to be on our apps all the time. But we can't stop. No matter how hard we try, it's simply just too difficult for most people to quit. 220 million people are addicted to social media, and that's probably an understated number. And for all those parents out there like me, who's ever tried to get their kids or their teenagers to delete their social media apps or to reduce their screen time, we all know how incredibly difficult it is to do so. And as a parent, we may not want to believe this, but it's actually not our kids' fault. Once they start using the apps, they're hooked, they're addicted, just like us. And honestly, there's very little we can do at this stage without a major conflict, right? And the best analogy that I can use to characterize the social media industry is the gambling industry, and in particular, slot machines. I mean, picture a slot machine, and what do you see? What do you think of, right? You think of all the sounds, you think of all the cool lights, you think of all the displays, and they're constantly giving that gambler feedback to encourage them to keep betting. Every sound, every light, every image has been carefully designed by the casino to make people addicted to that experience by giving them dopamine hit after dopamine hit, letting people win just enough to keep them coming back for more. Now, I'm not saying that slot machines should be banned. I mean, it's certainly not my thing, right? But if people play in moderation, they're having fun, it's entertaining to them, to me, it's all good. But what is really important is that we've set rules and regulations around slot machines to protect people. It's not like we're allowing kids to run around casinos and just gamble as they choose, sitting at different slot machines. I mean, there's also definitely some programs out there that will help people fight their gambling addictions, right? But for anybody who has ever known anybody who has suffered from addiction, you know how difficult it is for people to quit. On average, teenagers are spending 6 to 9 hours a day on social media. And as a parent, I can't imagine my kid being allowed to sit in front of a slot machine for that same amount of time every single day, knowing that they're being manipulated and exploited. Yet, that's exactly what's happening to kids on social media. And it's scary to think that that's what the future looks like for my kids. Unfortunately, there are no rules and regulations to protect people from being exploited by social media apps. I mean, just like slot machines, social media apps have been designed to give us that dopamine hit, to keep us glued to our apps. Also, they can just sell more ads and exploit us for our data and our attention. As I said earlier, once we start using the apps, it's a real uphill battle to break free from the addiction. And the social media apps know this. And here's the revelation. Reducing our screen time is just not a practical solution. It's like asking an addicted gambler to stop gambling. It's like asking a heroin addict to stop using heroin, a smoker to go cold turkey, or asking an alcoholic to just have one drink at a party. It's just not going to work. At least for most people, it's just not going to work. And the social media apps are more than happy to push this narrative, this illusion that managing our screen time is the solution, because they know it's virtually impossible to stop using their apps, to reduce your screen time. And because it puts the onus on us to change our behavior, yet what's really important is that they change theirs, right? Social media apps are currently allowed to manipulate and exploit people freely with complete disregard to the negative impact it's having on people's mental health, their productivity, and their relationships. And in fact, even if we try to quit, they'll know it because they're monitoring all of our activities, right? And they'll intentionally send us manipulative content, notifications that are all designed to get us back on their platform at whatever the cost. I mean, they'll even be as dirty as sending us notifications about an ex-girlfriend or an ex-boyfriend to create some sort of emotion, to stir some sort of a trigger for you that will get you back on their app. Like I said, they'll essentially do whatever it takes. And their algorithms know exactly what buttons to push. What's really scary is that in many ways, they know us better than we know ourselves. They know what we're going to react to. Now, just to be clear, I'm not saying that social networks and social platforms are all bad. There's tremendous power and value in being connected. But that being said, social media apps need to be reformed. And the practice of just exploiting people for more and more of their data and attention at whatever the cost, it really has to stop. Look, should we all try to reduce our screen time? Absolutely. Should we think about deleting the apps that exploit us? Of course. Should we stop our kids maybe from using the social media apps for as long as possible? I think without a doubt. But I want all of us to know that it's not our fault if we fail. I mean, these apps want us to believe that we're in control of our social media experience and that we're getting all these great services for free. But in reality, we're being manipulated and exploited every step of the way. And we're playing against the stacked deck of cards where the house always wins. Ultimately, we need to raise awareness. We need to demand reform. But more importantly, we need to come up with better social media alternatives and solutions that put consumers' interests first. Or else these practices will just continue, and the problems caused by social media addiction will only grow worse. I look forward to hearing all of your comments, and hopefully we can all work together to make social media healthier and more empowering for everyone. Thanks again.